I've been known to stutter, but not quite like that.
Do we leave now?
Move to adjourn?
Some technical difficulties. Yes. Sorry.
Okay, all right. It is 5 o'clock. I'm calling to order the meeting of the Parks, Recreation, Human Services, and Public Safety Committee. I'm Jack Walsh, the chair. Here beside me is our committee members, Susan Honda and Lydia Sefadawson. We also have Council President Kochmar and Council Member Jack Dovey here with us also. Is there anybody else online?
No, there's not.
No, okay, all right. First, is there any public comment?
No, there's not.
Okay, then on to committee business. Item A,
I move approval of the minutes from April 8th, 2025.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded. Any, okay, all in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Opposed, it is unanimous, all right. Next, item B, the Hanwari Garden City contribution of $50,000.
Good evening, council members. Policy question before you tonight is, should the city council approve $50,000 towards the development of the Hanrui Garden? And in some previous conversations, this had been brought to my attention by you guys, but there had never been a formal ask from us from the Hanrui, and so recently they had made that ask for the additional $50,000. And so we have King County Parks levy money, which would be allocated from to help fund that $50,000 to support Hanrui Garden. I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
First off, before asking questions, I dropped by there this afternoon on my way here. Beautiful, beautiful. I mean, it is absolutely stunning.
Yeah, thank you for saying so. I agree.
All right. Okay, Councilmember Honda.
Thank you. So the cost of the garden is roughly 1.2 million, and the city's put in about 100,000 at this point, including the land. Is that correct?
It's probably a little more than 100,000, and so previously, city council, we came to city council and we got some levy money appropriated to fund the connection of the fiber connection to hook up the security cameras. So that was an additional about $36,000. We had some bench, we were a part of the bench purchase with the Hanrui Garden, that was about 11,000. And so kind of to date, we're about 168,000 from city funds expended. This additional 50 would bring it to about 218. Now, we are doing some of the in-ground work, such as the irrigation and some other minor things that it makes sense for the city to do. Some of those costs may not have been tracked or invoiced yet. So that's just what I was able to get with finance to date, and what I pulled from all the agenda bills regarding Hanrui Garden.
So last time, well, when I've talked with Mike Park about this over the last few months, probably about the last 6 months, he's ranged from needing 200,000 to 25,000. So is the 50,000 something that we have just offered a number, or is that a number that he's come up with?
No, he came and asked, and he had a conversation with the mayor and city administrator, and that was the ask. It wasn't formally asked of to me. And so the last time I was asked, when I was at the podium regarding it, because there had been some community conversations, I guess is the way I can phrase it, and I hadn't heard of that request. And so, my comment at the time was, we need a formal request from them before we can move anything forward. And so this formal request came through City Administrator Davis. And so.
Okay, I think if that's the amount that he's asked for, then that's great. I have no problem, and I think we should certainly give that to them. But if they needed more, I also think we should give more. This is going to be such a huge addition to the city of Federal Way that I can see people coming from all over just to visit it.
Yeah, like I say, it's turning out to be a beautiful park. And so, again, we're funding what has been asked for. If additional asks come, we'll bring that forward for city council consideration. But at this time, we can only bring forward what they've proposed.
One more question. The maintenance of this, looks to me, I drive by it numerous times a day, that it could be pretty time intensive.
It's going to be a lot of landscape bed work, horticulture work, and I can tell you, we've got some of that expertise in-house. A lot of times, though, if you look at a lot of our parks, landscape maintenance beds are one of our weaknesses. And that's because we attend to other priorities first, and time goes on, and some of those landscape beds deteriorate in condition. It has to do with lean staffing. We have to pick on a daily basis what maintenance tasks we're going to get to and what we're going to not do that day, because there's always more tasks to do than we have people and time available.
So if this is going to be a concern, maintaining this park to keep it in its best condition as when it opens, the day that it's opened, should we get some kind of volunteer organization that wants to maintain it?
And so there has been discussions about the Federal Koreans Association having volunteer events and working to help maintain it. But it's something that we're looking at internally within the Parks Department now and trying to gauge how we're going to do that. And so if there's volunteer groups or that want to come forward, we'd be happy to work with them. Time to go out there and solicit them is not necessarily in our daily hours.
Okay. And then one thing more, when we were there earlier for the ribbon cutting of the plaque, I had asked Brian Davis if the restroom could have the same roof as the roof of the structure on the park, and he said yes, but it's not done yet. Is that in the plans? Did he share that with the Parks Department?
It hasn't been shared with me at this
Okay.
time, and so I don't want to create any false expectations, but those are clay tiles that are on the roof of the pagoda and that cap the wall at the Hanrui Garden. And I don't know that the Sanican structure that we built in-house maintenance is structurally sound to support the weight of a clay roof like that.
Okay.
So it's something I'm going to have to vet further. You know, me and George are just going to have to look at it and see what's reasonable and feasible, and then take
Okay.
the necessary steps if that's the desire.
All right, it just would look nice, it would just flow, because
Yeah.
it's so close to the,
Yeah, understood.
okay, thank you.
All right. First, I'd like to recognize that Councilmember McDaniels has joined us.
Understood.
And with that, Councilmember Sopadawson.
Yeah, thank you, and I like that idea, maybe even if we could match the colors, just to follow up to what she said.
In regards to the roof of the
The roof.
Sanican structure.
Yeah. But with that, I also drove by it and it looks great. Last time we were there for the,
Panther Lake ribbon cutting?
it wasn't ribbon cutting, we just went and saw the structure during construction.
Okay, I can't remember, I
Okay.
wasn't a part of that. and so-
There was the ribbon cutting for the plaque, you know.
Okay, so
Or-
the plaque only had the mayor's name and council president's name, as well as on the other side, I just saw a few names.
Okay.
I haven't looked at it since. Was that just a placeholder, or is that how it is permanently?
And I haven't had any involvement in designing the plaques, deciding who's on the plaques, how those have been done, and so it was something I need to go back and talk with either former Mayor Park or the architect and discuss how they came about with
Okay.
that plaque wording. Like I said, I'm not privy, I was not part of those conversations.
Okay, because I'll say I haven't looked since then, so I'm not gonna make assumptions, but even at that time, I did not see Mayor Park's name on there.
Okay.
And I know he's an integral part of this, of the
Oh,
whole
absolutely,
thing.
right.
And I didn't see any other council members' names, so,
Yeah,
I'm
I'll
just
I'll
curious.
inquire in regards to, you know, I know there's a couple plaques in there. I don't know if they're doing an official dedication plaque on top of that. So I'll have to inquire and find out about plaques.
thank you.
Right, Councilmember Dovey.
Yeah, I have a couple questions.
Sure.
And I think this is a great project, and I really don't have problems with the extra money. I just wish that we had had the foresight when we started it, we would know kind of what we were going to spend. I know it's a thing in process, but the thing that I think we should be talking about is not just this park, but it would seem to me we're going to get asked by other groups over the years, can we do the same thing? I mean, we have a strong Ukrainian group, we have a strong, the lady was here the other day from the Pacific Islanders. You know, we got lots of different ethnic groups in the city. And it would seem to me that we should have a policy that says, if you want to raise $1.2 million or whatever the number is, the city will match with X, so you can build a park like this, and it becomes an economic development project where people actually come to Federal Way to go to the Hanwari Park or the Asian Pacific Islander Park, wherever it is. And I think that's something we should be discussing, other than spending another 50,000, or when I looked at the receipt, it was like 56,820. It wasn't just 50,000. But we have an opportunity as a council to put a stamp in Federal Way and find where we have parcels of land like this that we could set aside for other groups to do something. I don't know what everybody else thinks about it, but I would think that would be something we would want to do.
Yeah, I tend to think that it's something that we should certainly consider, because, I mean, we are known for our ethnic diversity, and there's, the Koreans have played such a vital role, but there's other groups that have played a vital role in the community as well. So,
I mean, for example, you know, many of us here went to the Sikh get-together. Not Sikh, but Sikh, right? But they might, you know, there's a huge amount of people in our community. They may want to do something like that, and, you know, we have a piece of land somewhere about the size of this that we're not going to develop and do something with, and say, here's a place, or here's another one, or the group over that wants to do the Macardo over El Centro. They may say, hey, we would like to do something for our heritage, and I think we should just make it bigger than just $56,000 or 50 grand, because we have, you know, it's come to that point. But I don't know how we get that discussion going, but that would be something I would like to see us do.
It would certainly help staff if we had solid direction and a policy that way.
Yeah, no, well, right now, we're just doing this one park, but
yeah, I think that'd be well to, I'm not quite sure what the next step would be with something like that. You want to?
So what is it that you'd like to see done?
here's an example.
Replicating it.
Right now, how much space is the Hanwari Park?
It's just under an acre, I
Just-
believe, or right at an acre.
Let's say it's
yeah.
an acre. We should scour our city and find 4 or 5 1-acre plots, my opinion. And it's not gonna happen tomorrow, it might take 10 years. But we designate those pieces, those 1 acres, as places where a group could come to Federal Way, like the lady who was the Pacific Islander Association, she had 2,000 people. The Sikh group, I'm just using their name, I'm not saying they want to, or maybe,
The Ethiopian community,
what's that?
the Ethiopian community.
Ethiopian community, I don't care who it is, but we set aside 5 1-acre plots throughout the city that could be developed into a nice cultural park that would draw people to Federal Way. It could go with, you know, when the park over by my house at, the garden, you know, they have the garden tour, what Monty Powell built.
Oh,
Maybe we
yeah.
have
Powell
some of
Garden.
Powell's
those
Garden.
1-acre plots all around the city where we have 1 acre, and we designate these for cultural parks, but we're not gonna fund them. We might fund up to 200,000, because that's what we're doing for the Korean Hanwari, and then get people to make that a park.
Yeah, I was just trying to clarify in my mind what you were saying, because I didn't know if you were saying that we should develop the parks, or
No,
we
no.
should have the, whatever group it is, do what the Korean community has done.
Just the way the Korean community did it, but, and
Because this
we-
has been like 15 years. I heard about this at least
yeah,
15 years
I mean,
ago.
It's been a long time, but
Yeah.
it probably started when Skip Priest and,
He was, yeah, I sat
went
in his
over to,
office, yeah.
you know, whatever it was, Dong Hay back in the day, or maybe Linda was the one there.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it's just an opportunity, I think we should do something like that.
maybe this is something that we really should talk about in a retreat, because you're talking about kind of
A retreat's a year from now.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
And so we're just wrapping up the Brook Lake Master Plan, and then we're gonna finalize rolling the Steel Lake, Brook Lake Master Plan into our update of our PROs, Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Plan. This is the opportunity where, if that's the idea, we could add some sort of draft language into it, and then it would be reviewed as part of that PROs plan process. But if it's not, if that sort of is a desire of the city council to make those 4 to 5 1-acre plots and make that available, if it's not in the PROs plan, it would not be eligible for future grants or other, kind of outside funding. It has to be identified in that plan, and that, to me, the PROs plan should be our compass, our guiding light on what projects we need to be working on and when, because it lays it all out there in that plan.
Jason, so the pros plans, obviously, you're working on it right now, working on
Correct.
completing it. Is there any downside of putting it in the pros plan?
No.
It seems to me then that we should put it in the pros plan as the first step.
As an option.
And then we can take further steps later on and fill it out. I mean, flesh it out.
And, excuse me, Council President, I didn't mean to say a retreat's a long way. I wasn't trying to be disrespectful. I was just trying to
It's all
say
right.
that, hey, we might have a chance to set it aside now, and,
Yeah.
because it's going to take a long time.
And that's fine, if you want to put it in a plan, for a
Yeah.
future, but it's a budget item, so
Yeah.
we need to talk about.
Yeah.
And
It
money's
sounds like
coming
now's
from.
the ideal time to,
It's brought up at a good time,
Yeah.
and so, like I say, it's just that should be our compass, our guiding light for where the Parks Department is going, or what things are out there, and like I say, if it's not in there, it won't be eligible funding. If it's in there, it doesn't mean you have to do it, but it's part of our plan and thoughts of where we want to move to in the future.
yeah.
Okay,
Sorry.
what bothers me-
Council President.
What bothers me is that, this park needed more money, which is fine. But maybe we need to say a percentage of the project, because we're not going to build a project for different, they might come in and think that we're going to build a park for them. So like Kona came in, and they're on our agenda. But I would just think that you need to tailor it more so that it's not at our instigation, it's at their instigation. And if that happens, then we might consider, putting in a percentage. I don't think we should, we can't say, well, gee, you've got a better plan than this plan, so we're going to give you more money. I mean, somehow we have to be fair.
Yep.
I agree with you.
And I'm not sure how you would, but if you want to put some kind of general language in that says, we'll entertain the idea.
To me, it's just going to be it'll be like a bullet point, or in a paragraph, that this potential exists, and we would look to explore that in the future. But I concur. I believe it was about 2007 when the Korean Association came to us to first start talking about it. So it was a long time coming. And the other thing that the Federal Way Korean Association did is they came with their wallet. They've asked us, and we've contributed some money, which is fair, because it's going to be a city park when all's said and done, and they're giving it all to us. And so having some skin in the game makes sense, but it's really the Federal Way Korean Association is bringing the more than 80% of the funding to build this park.
Okay. All right. Any more?
No, I just wanted to bring it up.
Okay, yeah.
And hopefully we think about it and make it something that could happen.
All right. Anything more from the council?
I
President?
do. So are we done now? Are they done with their money needs? Do they need more money?
I have no idea where they are at financially on this park. It's just the money we've contributed to date, plus this new $50,000 ask.
Okay. Well, so we'll leave that, but I know we've talked in the past about possibly having weddings there. Is that something that we're going to be able to entertain?
We'll have control of the site, and we'll be able to rent it. Now, I think that, some sort of, when they want to give everything that they've built on that park to us, we're going to have to accept that in some means or fashion legally. I'll let the legal department handle that. But at that point, to me, it would make sense that you would also want to enter into some sort of memorandum of understanding so that you're setting the expectations of receiving this gift and what we can commit to as far as the maintenance, the scheduling, the bookings. You know, I'm sure there's certain dates that the Federal Way Korean Association, that's important to the Korean culture, that they're gonna wanna maybe have events or
Yeah,
festivals
right.
there. I don't know what those dates are. I don't think John knows what those dates are. And so, again, that's all details to me when they're doing that handover, should be flushed out. So you have a clear agreement on,
Yeah.
hey, they put in the money to build this and
Yeah,
know.
thank you.
All right, okay. Councilman McDaniel.
Yeah, just a question on this, what you had just mentioned. On your recommendation, you've added to the comp plan, how did, not the comp plan, what was it called?
pros, parks, recreation, and open space plan.
Okay, that thing. When adding to that, is it literally just a line item that says future abilities to do not inclusive parks, but these kind of parks? Or how would you, just out of curiosity, how would you phrase that?
I'm not certain how I'm going
Okay.
to phrase it yet, Councilmember McDaniel. We, that's kind of our next big meeting on the pros plan, meeting with the AHBL, our consultants on the pros plan. And so I'm going to float it with them and how it aligns, you know, so there would be some sort of narrative. It'd be probably more than a little bullet point because we would want to describe that philosophy that Councilmember Dovey just shared with us and capture that appropriately. But then also you look at the 5-10 year financial calendar and where would you slot that? And it may not be slotted and it may end up in that in-column check box where it says when funding becomes available. And that's where a lot of our CIP and major, capital projects are listed in our current pros plan just because funding is limited for us.
Gotcha. And if that becomes the next step, and then after that would be land finding out, does it need to be new land or could it be a park that's being reassociated? I mean, I'm just curious if the,
I think it could be any land. I mean, it
Okay.
could be on an existing park, or, we have a surplus piece of property on Highway 99 we might want to, we're going to sell someday or whatever, or some fragment somewhere, and we can designate that if someone wanted to, invest in doing it,
gotcha.
anywhere in the city.
Yeah. And the last one is, do we have a database or Excel spreadsheet that lists all the different parcels and properties the park has, or is that?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
We do?
So we have an internal, so we rely on King County Parcel Viewer quite a bit, but we also have an internal through the GIS division where they have taken, it was done a couple of years ago, but basically every parcel number that the city owns is in this kind of map. And then it also, we took it a step further because we struggled to know what department of a city owned land, but who's responsible to maintain it, swim, parks, streets. And so it identifies what department is responsible for each parcel. And so, I use it on the daily.
Gotcha. So it would not be a huge ask of staff to be able to find something that falls within those parameters that we had talked about then?
Yeah, we can find them and list them. It really comes down to, what that group wants in that, because the Korean Garden sits on the Panther Lake site, and it was a portion of that. Originally, it was proposed up on the BPA trail, and so I think you can identify where you have 1 acre parcels, but, we should hone that down of what we would accept or where we would accept some of that development coming, and so it would just be an exercise we'd need to go through to identify those.
All right, awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
I suspect just because we put in the pros plan, we're not going to have suddenly a rush of people. Hey, it takes whoever would do it, they'd still be responsible for $1 million or $2 million or whatever that they need to raise, and that's,
It's no small feat.
It's no small feat. So I don't think we need to worry about suddenly a Oklahoma land rush to.
Could be a
to
good
do
problem to have,
something.
though.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
and just real quick to clarify, I know Council President Kushner had some concerns as well. This is all like 30,000-foot view planning, right? Once we get into the weeds, like an MOU would need to be executed, and the city would, depending on how it's structured, would have a lot of control over, what happens and how it's done as well, kind of thing. So we can, once we get into the weeds with whatever group, we would make sure it's done the right way and the legal way, and just put the controls that we need to make sure that it's done the right way as well. So I think we can do all that and resolve any council concerns via an MOU with whatever nonprofit group is coming to the city with an idea, so.
Yeah.
I have one more
Councilmember
question.
Honda.
Usually when we put up a new park or a building or whatever, there's a plaque and it has the name of the mayor, council members, and parks commissioners.
Yeah, we consider those dedication plaques that they kind of go in with the day of dedication.
So are we doing that on this park?
Again, I am part of this development. I haven't had any conversations about the plaques or all of that, so it's something I need to go back and talk to, and so I've
Because if we don't, we should, and be consistent with what we've done
Yep.
with other. Because right on that, at the start of the trail right there is a plaque when the trail opened.
Yeah, when we dedicated Panther
So,
Lake, we
right.
had put one in, correct. And so,
But we should be consistent and have something like that on this also.
so I will follow up with Federal Way Marine Association and the architect, but then I'll also have discussions with the mayor and Brian Davis on how to move forward with that. We're looking for like a June 10th grand opening was set, and so we may, I mean, it may not be in for the day of the dedication, but shortly thereafter, because generally those type of plaques take about 90 to 120 days to get manufactured.
Okay.
So, but I will move forward that City Council has requested to have a dedication plaque if it's not already being included as part of the Federal Way Koreans Association's plans.
All right.
Is that fair, or is that?
Yep,
Yeah,
that's fine.
okay.
All right. Thank you, Jason. The great discussion I think we had. If there's no further discussion, do we have a motion?
I move to forward option 1. Let me make sure what option 1 is.
You got it.
Oh, yep. To the May 20th, 2025 consent agenda for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It is unanimous.
Thank you,
All
City
right.
Council.
Thank you very much. Item C, the Washington Native Plant Society Memorandum of Understanding.
Good evening, council. Council President, George Richardson, your Parks and Facilities Manager. Tonight before you, sorry, need these. Oh yeah, much better. Getting older. I do not on this one. Question before you, should the city enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Washington Native Plant Society, forming a partnership to establish community projects that benefit the local community and local ecosystems? And I gave you the Reader's Digest version on here. I'm going to elaborate a lot more because there's a lot of information on this. But going into the finances of this item was not included within the approved budget. As proposed, this partnership will be funded using the parks operation budget, no new money being requested. Basically, our time and resources are needed on this one and our locations. And Washington Department of Natural Resources grant funding. They're the ones truly funding this. Upon completion of the Washington Native Plant Society MOU, there will be a minimal future costs due to ongoing costs associated with operations and maintenance of the improved areas within our parks. These areas that they're going to improve and do their projects on, plan on using volunteers in the next few years to keep them up. Okay, so basically the background information. A couple years ago, I'll get into the background here, but I'm going to give you a little bit before the background. So a couple years ago, Washington Native Plant Society reached out to us, and they were looking for a partner to partner up with and go after this DNR grant. These grants, basically, what they do is there is a stewardship program that we had, and we actually used Numa Space Center, so we profited off of that too. David got a little kickback there, so good on us. And they did their stewardship program down there. It was a 100-hour stewardship program where they would teach these stewards to go out, run these projects, and what they are is they take areas within our parks, mainly there's 3 areas at Steel Lake Annex and 2 areas at Celebration Park in our nature area there by 5 and 6 and 7, fields 5 and 6 and 7 and 8, and our annex area kind of out around our wetland area there. And they're taking areas that have invasive species, removing the invasive species, Himalayan blackberries, laurel, holly, those kinds of invasive species they're taking out, and they're going to reintroduce native plants and make it to where actually there will be trails around there, interpretive signage, and that will teach people about the benefits of the forest and that. So they had this down at Dumas Bay. They started in September of last year. Their graduation was mid-December, and they started actively working on these projects in February. And they have been working every other Friday. I think the first Friday of every month is at Celebration. The third Friday is at Steel Lake. And they continue to work on these projects. We coupled Parks Appreciation Day, and they worked on that out there and worked on the projects. Basically, what they need from us, they need a place to do this, number one. So our parks are a great place because we have plenty of places overgrown with invasive species. They needed a little bit of our time to help with the planning and that on these areas and that. Free byproducts, wood chips. They need basically arborist chips that our tree contractor dumps off there. We get them for free. He loves it too because he gets rid of a product there too. They need that for composting after they get rid of the invasive species. They also needed our tools in that. We've hooked them up with that. They trained about 25, I believe, stewards, and they've coupled up into these groups to run these projects. They'll be doing it through, I believe it's May of next year of 26, and then we will be help upkeep for the next 2 years after that to 28 and so on. And I know they have planting set up here for this fall. We're gonna couple Serve Day. We're also bringing them the volunteers. So that's more, I'll get back into reading this here, but that's more the guts of what's going on out there. It's a benefit to the city and taking the invasive areas out there, using their resources. They get trained on it as well because they can run volunteer events other than this through this grant for us as well. So Washington Native Plant Society has received a grant from Washington Department of Natural Resources to establish community projects that benefit the local community and local ecosystems. The grant awards a project to provide a 100-hour master native plant stewardship program for citizens of City of Federal Way and the region. The city will partner with WNPS, and the reason we partner with them, you haven't heard this before from me, there's a little bit of holdup. Don't want to blame law, but there's a little bit of holdup with law. And we did not know if we were going to be able to be part of this because DNR needed to see a COI from the native plant folks and from us. We're self-insured. We don't have a COI because we don't have an insurance company. They finally accepted last month a letter of insurance. So now I can fire that back up and bring it before you. The city will partner with the Washington Native Plant Society to provide community engagement, support the beautification of public spaces, and build healthy relationships amongst the neighbors. The project will promote activities for equity and environmental justices while providing education about the value of forest health in the community. Washington Native Plant Society will take a leadership role in providing a native plant stewardship coordinator. His name's Joe Albrecht, really cool guy. To work cooperatively with Washington Native Plant Manager and City of Federal Way Park staff to implement the native plant stewardship training and volunteer-led restoration projects in city parks as identified in the DNR Urban Forestry Agreement over a period of 2 years through May of 2026. So there's two options to consider on this. Approve the proposed MOU or do not oppose the proposed MOU and provide direction to staff. Mayor chooses or recommends option one. Do I have any questions?
Councilmember Sefadazza.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Do we have places identified for this project?
Yes.
Okay, where?
There's 3 projects. I can send you guys a link because it's a lot of information.
Okay.
There's a lot to put in here. But yes, they have 3 project sites over at Steel Lake Annex. One's right next to the Historical Society, right down the hill from it. You'll see, we went in with our brush cat and our bobcat and our brush cat attachment and brush cat some of the blackberries out of the way, and they're taking the canes the rest of the way out of the soil, grubbing them the rest of the way out of the soil. Another site over there is right along 312th, the west side of 312th, right there. You can see where they planted. I'll send you guys a link. It's way easier to show you. And another one is out behind the lower ball field out there on the annex side, back in that wetland area and that where there's invasives. Celebration, like I said, it's in the corner right there by the lower restroom by 5 and 6. You'll see it if you're walking out to 5 and 6, just like you would for Red, White, and Blues Festival. It's over on the left. And they redid a little pathway in there. They're bolstering up that area, and they're also doing an area out on the trail itself, kind of using that as one area. And they're taking back and getting rid of the invasives.
Okay, so instead of sending us the document, can you just send us a map?
Yep.
I didn't find those. So would this be part of the Parks Master Plan then, so they don't get plucked up when, when something comes up, or?
So in the pros plan, we talk about volunteering with all groups, and so what really cements this is what you're looking to approve today, and that's that memorandum of understanding with them, and that's what helps lock up our partnership between the Native Plant Society and the City of Federal Way.
For 2 years, up to
Correct.
2 years.
Yep.
Thank you.
Councilmember Honda.
They really need it for the grant funding. That's why they need it. They need this memorandum so they can fund their program.
My concern is after 2 years, I know we may not be obligated to maintain, but it'd be great to do that. So
Oh, yeah.
what holds us responsible or accountable to continue this on our own?
There is in the memorandum, it does state that we will do to the best of our ability. I'm going to do it through volunteerism, and unfortunately, we just lost AmeriCorps,
Yeah.
unfortunately, here this last month, and they were really big in our volunteer corps. But we've got other volunteers. These stewards, one thing Ally is great at getting the word out on social media. Great job. She's a Jedi Knight and really gets it out there. So I think we can do it through our volunteerism and that. And we have enough events throughout the year. That's what I plan to do.
All right.
So I had the pleasure of talking with these folks on Park Appreciation Day, both at Steel Lake and then at Celebration Park. I took a walk with them and found a new pond I didn't know
Yeah.
it was over there, and it was actually really pretty. But yeah, they're doing a lot of work there. It's very impressive, and it's amazing that we have volunteers who care that much about our parks to be in there doing that kind of work,
That's
because it's not easy.
No,
Thank you.
thank you.
Councilmember McDaniel.
Yeah, just out of curiosity, you mentioned that the MOU is required for the grant. Do you know what the grant amount is?
I want to say it's in the 50 range, 50K range.
50. And that's enough for the volunteers for about 2 years then?
That'll go to pay for, they've already funded, so it's going to be to pay them back for
Okay.
like the use of Dumas Bay, their program, yeah, with the volunteers and that, yes. That's what I understand it's going for.
Gotcha.
And plants too, they're going to buy the plants, the signage, all that stuff.
They can make 50 grand go pretty far, it sounds
Yeah.
like. Do you happen to know how many volunteers they usually get then for these kind of projects?
This was a shot in the arm to them, Parks Appreciation. Serve Day coming up here in July, we're gonna give them enough, that's where I'm trying to bolster.
Okay.
And I'm hoping that when folks came out here for Parks Appreciation, we had over 200 people, so that was good. And I'm hoping they see this, they get invested in it, and they come back.
It's kind of like an
That-
intake kind of
Yeah,
scenario?
yeah, it's
Okay,
like, well, I
gotcha.
gotta see what's going on, and just get invested in the program.
Gotcha. All right, no, sounds like a good job to me. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So the 25 people that are in doing the class and
The stewardship.
the stewardship class, that they're already there. It's
They're
not
already there.
25 to be
They
selected. It's
graduate-
already there, and they're already in the middle of it.
Yeah, they're in the middle of it, they're in their projects. We said, when we started this whole thing, I wanted to bring this to you in December, and it just, I waited and waited, and it didn't get an answer, and they got back to me and said, we need to get this going. Well, will this work for our COI? They finally got back, so we were able to fire it back up.
So we're basically formalizing
Yes.
what's already been going
Yeah,
on.
we basically said, we're not gonna let this die. We're gonna go forward with it now, so they could go and they could graduate and get their projects going, and that's what we did, because see the benefit in this. I mean, we really come out ahead.
Yeah.
Another caveat of this is the master plan that Jason was talking about with Steel Lake. One of the major things that folks in Federal Way wanted was a walking trail around that annex side. They're actually kind of carving out and helping us make those right now. So we win in another way there. So.
All right. Great, great. Thank you, George.
You bet.
It is greatly appreciated. Thank to both of you for all that you
Thank you.
do. Do we have a motion?
Sure. I move to forward the proposed memorandum of understanding to the May 2025 consent agenda for approval.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It is unanimous.
Great.
And it looks like you have the next one
I got the
also,
next one.
Conda
This one I've
Park
got
Playground Equipment Purchase.
All right, now let's see if I can do it without making the thing explode.
No, we don't want that.
No. That's not it.
Nice.
Ah.
That's next.
I'm gonna do Stacia's for. Stacia's on it, I'm not.
George, you're not going to be able to pass as Stacia because she doesn't have as cool a haircut as you do.
Yeah, she actually has hair.
Hey, God only made a few per perfect heads, the rest he put hair on.
There I am. What? There we go. Share my screen. Is it already shared? Slideshow.
I'm gonna go to that, hold on, but we need to share the screen.
Yeah,
We didn't share the screen, though.
we didn't share the screen. There we go. That do it? I want to make it bigger. Right there? Oh. I just want to make, yeah, that'll work.
No, they
Nah,
can't
that's
see
not
it.
work.
There we go. Now go to slideshow.
We get the bar out of the way? There we go. That'll work. All right, the next one up here is Connor Park Playground Equipment Purchase. And the policy question before you is, should the city council approve the purchase of playground equipment for Connor Park from KCDA Buell Recreation LLC in the amount of $70,652.53 and CME in the amount of $32,184.54, and authorize staff to pursue and award the lowest responsive bidder for installation. I will go into a little bit of the financial on this, and there's more background in that show and tell here, what we came with after all our meetings and studies here. So financial impacts is the cost to the city for the purchase of the Connor Park playground equipment was included within the approved budget under the Parks Department Capital Project Fund. In accordance with the approved budget, this purchase of playground equipment in the amount of $102,837.07 is funded by the Parks General Fund. Upon completion of Connor Park playground equipment purchase, future costs will be the installation of the equipment and ongoing costs associated with operations and maintenance. We estimate the installation to cost less than $25,000. So the background, in late '24, early '25, Parks Department sought concepts for new playground equipment at Connor Park from vendors on the state contract. 7 companies submitted a total of 12 concepts with bid estimates for each. Parks vetted these concepts through the Parks and Recreation Commission, a public meeting, the Connor family, and park staff employees. Playability, inclusivity, cost, as well as public and Connor family desires were factors in the equipment selection. So let's show you what everybody liked. All right. Should be, oh, mouse? Oh, how about right here? There we go. So again, here are the costs for the playground. The equipment will be purchased from two manufacturers. We kind of like this, I call it the salad bar approach. The manufacturers will bring us their concepts, and people get to look at them and say, well, I like that from this one, and I like that element from this one, and we'll put it together in our own playground. We did the same thing at Town Square, correct? Yes. So the main playground structure purchased from Buell Recreation through a contract for KCDA for $70,652.53. Secondary playground structure, the Temple Trolley standard single track purchased through CME on the DES contract for $32,184.54. Grand total for the playground equipment, $102,837.07. So this is the main piece of equipment from Buell Recreation. Like I said, the studies liked this a lot. It has elements of playability and a lot of inclusiveness in there. I'm going to go into those in just a second. If you can see, can you guys see my, okay, good. This right here, this element is known as the loop, the 360 loop. This has I'll click to the next slide. It's gonna show it a lot better. And this right here is a aero spinning chair, which has transition area as well. There's a lot you can see on the back here for climbability in that and playability. So here's the 360 loop. This is the first inclusive slide available on the market. It features a transfer area right here, a climber, and of course the slide. And a combination of which makes one fun slide for folks. Here's the aero spinning chair. I call it the Captain Kirk because I always think of Captain Kirk in his chair spinning around. Brings spinning to children of all abilities. It's a transfer height again for children in wheelchairs, and easier for them to get in. It's also tilted back so they stay in. The spinning motion has also been known to help alleviate sensory strain for kids with autism. So that is the main structure there. This is the Temple Trolley. This is a secondary structure from CME. This was designed, inspired by Dr. Temple Grandin's research. Again, it's basically a zip line, but this spins right here as well. And the free spinning helps, that movement helps provide relief from sensory strain for folks on the autism spectrum. Here, again, my computer skills are nowhere near what Allie's are. I just wanted to give you guys a brief kind of layout of what it would look like up there at the current site. Here is the sign that we have. We're going to take that sign out. The new sign's going to go roughly over here in the front. There is a gas line project that PSE is doing right now, so we're kind of delaying that, so we don't have to redo it. The main structure that I showed you first, the one from Buell, it'll sit up here where the main structure right now is right here, so it's basically on the same spot. This is the Temple Trolley, and that is the Aero Spin. We will put an entrance. One thing this playground does not have right now, it does not have an ADA entrance, which is, it basically just has a concrete curb all the way around it up to the grass. That we are going to incorporate right here, and you will be able to go from path, and it'll be an ADA slope regulation down into the playground and the chips. This will be chips. We do not, I'd love to go pour in place, we just don't have the budget for it. That would double the budget. And that pretty much is the playground right there. We will have benches and picnic tables, I believe, over here. We're also thinking about a kiosk in the future in this neighborhood over here. Those kind of things. Just doing the playground in this presentation because that has to do with interpretive signage for the Kana family's legacy and story that we want to tell out there, and we will incorporate that later. We want to get the building of the actual playground going on because that's going to take the longest. So again, should the council approve the purchase of playground equipment for Kana Park from KCDA Buell Recreation LLC in the amount of $70,652.53, and CME in the amount of $32,184.54, and give approval to staff to pursue and award the lowest responsive bid for installation. And the two options to consider are approve the proposed purchase or do not approve the proposed purchase and provide direction to staff. Mayor's recommendation is option one. And with that, one more slide, I can do it. Any questions?
All right, thank you, George. Councilmember Savedassan.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for talking about and for planning for the ADA, and my question was going to be the accessibility, so thank you for answering that. My concern is the spinny thing,
Spinner.
probably. Does it have a seatbelt?
I don't think it does. That's why it's leaned back.
How about the other one? Any of them have seatbelts, actually?
No.
That could be,
There's an option that we can
Could
get
be limiting,
with the,
could be limiting.
still.
there is an option that the Temple Trolley comes with one of those, like a child-like seat, that where they basically sit in there.
They can be buckled in?
Yeah,
or-
they can be buckled in.
Okay.
It's one of those big plastic ones, but again, I think Councilmember Honda nailed it. That will be limiting to just kids. And I can see, I don't want to say I can see John out there using it, but I can see folks out there using this.
My concern is, especially if you're on a wheelchair and you don't have mobility,
Yeah,
you can fall easily, so. Yeah, I think it'd be great if we can explore that and make sure, and find something or make adjustments so they can,
we will look into it, definitely.
yeah, okay.
And so a lot of it has to do, whenever we do a playground, playgrounds are about challenging and pushing the limits of children and testing their boundaries, and that's a big component of what playgrounds do. We have safety surfacing in the area that will have surface impact attenuation for falls, but the probability of strapping anyone in a seatbelt on that seat would probably not occur, because it's contrary. It's like you're holding people in, so then what if they get stuck in there and then they can't get out? It's kind of that double-edged sword. And so I don't know, other than it's the hard plastic rigid for infant seats, where it's actually a bar that comes over and snaps in, is the only piece of playground equipment I know that kind of utilizes the seatbelts. They use those angles and the way the centrifugal force that will hold you in that seat. We will ask, absolutely, but I'm letting you know, just with the years of experience and know how the playgrounds are and that equipment is designed, that the probability and likelihood that it's offered is probably not there.
Yeah, I'm talking for kids who are in wheelchairs or have, let's say, back injury, cerebral palsy, or anything where they can't, if they were about to fall, they can't hold, they can't grab themselves or control that. So it's not to strap everyone, but wherever needed, it'd be great if there's that safety measure.
All right, Councilmember Honda.
Thank you. So I have several questions. When we built Town Square Park, I remember that John came to council to talk about the playground equipment, and council was to vote on it. And I remember I was concerned that all the playground equipment was rated for children 5 to 12. And this, according to the information I read this afternoon, is rated for children 5 to 12. We actually went back to the drawing board and got a few pieces there at Town Square Park for children under 5. Why did this not come to council? Is that is council not involved anymore in choosing playground equipment after it goes to the Parks Commission?
And so if council doesn't like the design we're bringing forward and you want us to make adjustments to that.
I'm just
that-
asking why it didn't come. I'm not saying I don't like it, I'm just asking why it didn't come to council.
And I don't recall us bringing it forward just as far as the selection of the playground equipment. I've been involved in almost every playground selection since I started in '06. And I, like I say, it could have occurred, I don't recall that, but generally our practice has been to solicit the feedback, bring then the preferred proposal to you, which is what this is, And if, like I say, if council doesn't like that, would like to see something
I'm
different.
not saying I don't like it. I'm just saying that for Town Square Park, that was how it worked. And we actually, after we talked about all of the playground equipment there being rated for children 5 to 12, we ended up, then 2 weeks later, John came back to council and we had a couple pieces for children ages under 5. So I'm just wondering, in this park, so everything is rated for children 5 to 12, and nothing for younger children.
That's,
And that neighborhood is full of really young kids. Just a statement, that's all. I'm not trying to pick a fight. I'm just saying that's how it occurred before, and wondering why council wasn't involved in it. That's all.
and so, like I said, the most recent playgrounds we've done are Adelaide, Town Square is one of them. Mirror Lake would be the other most recent playground we did, all prior to COVID. But in my recollection, it was always commission, the public, and staff kind of vetted it and brought forward the preferred proposal for the playground. And then but I don't recall that there was an individual special meeting with city council to select the playground equipment. And so I believed we were following the process we've always followed on playgrounds. And so I can go back and check, but like
Well,
I say.
I'm just, please believe me, for Town Square Park, that's how it happened.
And Town Square Park was a much bigger park.
Right.
And I wasn't at the level where, I was maybe even invited to those meetings at the time. And so, like I say, with that being said, I have been involved in all the playgrounds, and I thought we were following the process we always followed on playground replacements.
So my question is, for children under age 5, is this playground equipment safe for them to play on?
Yeah, absolutely, it's safe for them to play
Even though
on.
it's not rated for
It's
children?
not geared towards them. And so, being a father of a 13 and a 10-year-old and just going through playgrounds on that, I can tell you that even when my kids were in that 2 to 5 age frame, they generally walked away from the smaller playground equipment and went towards the bigger playground equipment. And yes, we have many playgrounds that have 2 to 5 and 5 to 12. In this instance, it's a kind of a matter of what we heard from the public, what we heard from the Kana family, what staff saw and what their thoughts were, and it's also fitting into the available budget that we have to replace the playground here.
Quick question, Jason. The playground that's there now, is it rated 5 to 12, or do you recall what it is?
I don't recall off the top of my head, but I would imagine it's a mix right now. It's a smaller playground and lesser scale.
Because I was going to say, if it's 5 to 12, 2 weeks ago, I was there with my 2-year-old grandson, and he was having a great time on it. And so, I
Yeah.
mean, if it's...
And my hunch is it's got components of both, but I would have to go back. That playground was put in '99, and so I could go to our playground condition report to see what
Don't worry about that.
what it says.
Don't
But
worry
that,
about
like I
it.
say, that's kind of where we're at, and we're moving forward with what we believe we heard from the public, the Kana family, and staff as far as the best playground we could put forward. Based on the available funding and the input received.
And I agree that, I mean, hey, kids want to stretch. They want to, that's part of their... Yeah, they want the challenge. I'm sorry about that. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I would say if you, especially Town Square Park, the main play structure there, the climbing thing, I wouldn't want a child a little kid on that, climbing on that. I mean, that would be somewhat dangerous.
And what I've seen.
Which is, I'm glad we have the other little pieces for little ones to be on there, because that main structure would not be safe for little ones.
And so-
Just my opinion as
Just-
a grandmother.
And valid, I accept that. But what I can say is I also see young kids on that big one. They're just not climbing to the top because they reach their threshold or their comfort level and they kind of stop. The other thing is I see more 2 to 5-year-olds on the zip lines over there than I see on the little kid play toy, and the zip line is rated for 5 to 12. Again, this is just my observations and doesn't make it right or wrong. It's just what I've observed.
It was simply a question.
Yeah, and
My other question is, on the ground cover, I was going to ask what the ground cover was. If we're going to have things that a child in a wheelchair or a walker is going to push through to get to the play equipment, How much does a different ground cover cost that would be easier to push through?
And so playground safety surfacing, we are using engineered wood fiber, which is common term, wood chips. And per IPMA guidelines, which is International Playground Manufacturers Association, we have an accessible route through that playground. I know that for some, it's easier to roll through wood chips than others. But we're meeting the industry standard and accessible route. So we're talking about maybe 10 to 15,000 in chips?
Yeah.
Versus a pour-in-place surfacing there would be 75 to 100 easily, with a 10-year lifespan.
So the chips have a 10-year lifespan too?
No, chips wear out a road, and you continue to add on the top, because as they decompose, those chips provide cushion, and so you don't want to dig them all out, because you've got this varying decomposition layers, which creates that sponge and that surface impact attenuation, which prevents against, head injury.
And so this is going to be bigger than the current playground there? But it'll be in the same location?
Same location.
So
Just
then,
expanding the footprint a little bit.
will there be grass around there like it is now?
Yes.
And there'll be a different entrance for,
Yes, there will be an actual ADA-approved entrance into the playground.
all right, thank you.
Councilmember McDaniel.
Thank you. Just out of curiosity, how many parks do we have that have playgrounds,
Wow.
20 parks would develop with full playgrounds.
And how often do we replace those usually?
Well, what we should be doing is, generally, playgrounds have a 15 to 20-year lifespan. Our playground policy says that we are pushing for a 20-year lifespan, and so we should be replacing one playground a year, every year in perpetuity. And so once you replace the 20, you're starting again at park number 1. And so I can tell you that we have not replaced the playground since prior to COVID, and part of that is due to funding, and part of that is due to staffability priorities and other priorities taking precedent over the playground replacements.
So in the last 4 years, no park playgrounds replacements?
It's probably more like 5.
Okay.
We may be edging the 6th, and part of it is our REIT funding. The last 2 years, REIT's been down, so we've gotten no allocation of funding for this CIP program. We've got about 175 in that account right now, and this playground replacement is gonna pull that account almost down to zero. The bad thing about that is we need to replace another playground next year,
And it's a big one.
but this account is also responsible to make major repairs on playgrounds and the apparatus due to vandalism. So an example of one is we recently had somebody who thought it would be fun to bash up a view window and a slide at Madrona Park, completely trashed. So we're talking about $15,000 to replace those two pieces. Right now, we don't have the money in the account to replace those and replace this playground. We're prioritizing the new playground over the repairs, and we will safe that playground off so that it's still usable and there's still play value there. You're just losing two apparatus and some of that play value because of the vandalism.
Do they have cameras there?
No, we do not.
You guys said, what CIP is it?
Capital,
Which one, which fund is it that?
this is, I believe it's the 120?
129.
Oh, 129, yeah. Sorry,
Okay.
yeah, he's,
I signed the bills.
Okay, I'm gonna look in that. So 129 does that. And then, what is the average, no, I mean, I guess we haven't done it in 4 to 5 years, and who knows what was the normal price for these guys? I was just curious, because I've never seen a park replacement.
yeah, and so we're right in the zone, kind of the
With
neighborhood,
inflation
the
and everything.
neighborhood park playgrounds have been in that, 150 to about 285 is the most we spent on a neighborhood playground, but then Town Square Park was quite a bit more, but you're talking that's a regional or a community park. So the next playground that we have to replace is Celebration Park. And it's a big one, probably the most popular playground in our system. And for years, the play value has been going down because things have been broken and we can't really get good replacement parts. When we order the replacement parts, they don't fit properly. It's from a manufacturer named Compan. They're a really good manufacturer. very big in Europe, but they're also very expensive, and it's been a little disappointing that we can't get those replacement parts to fit. But with that being said, it's long been a desire of park staff to expand that playground so that we do have a true 2 to 5 area and a true 5 to 12 area and connect those. Internally, I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but, you know, it used to be an airport, and we thought, you know, having an airport theme would be neat, and we could link with the, you know, link with the Historical Society to, you know, provide some of that historical interpretation as well. With that being said, George and I have been, and John have been looking at, you know, probably requesting some of that King County levy funds be moved over. But we're talking to replace Celebration Park, expand it to the other side of the pathway. We're gonna be $600,000 to $1 million. But, this community and that park deserves every penny of that in that playground, because if you look at the playground that's there, it's been loved
Always
to death.
used.
And so there are return on investment for this community in that playground. You can't put a price tag on it.
Gotcha. And then when was the last time that one was replaced, since you brought it up?
That's brand new since 1999, I think it was. One of
Nice. Hey, good year.
Definitely borrowed time over there.
Gotcha. And if you can go back real quick to the Temple Trolley.
Yes.
When you mentioned that, it blew my mind. I'm familiar with her work, but not with children. So,
There's a.
where did this idea come from to pick this one up, and how does it actually work?
So it's a zip line, basically. I can send you a link that actually has Dr. Temple Grandin on, she's on her belly on it, and she's spinning it, but she's zipping,
Yeah.
going back and forth. And it's just a zip line that twirls. That's pretty much it. Just like you go back and forth between your landings there, and you can zip and twirl.
Yeah, if you don't mind, send it over to me. I'm curious. Like I said, I've seen her work with the animals, and I've seen
Yeah.
her comfort chair, or comfort suit and stuff, but this is something I did not know she was into
It
making
kind of
stuff.
threw me back too. It's like, what? And yeah, it's pretty cool.
All right, sweet. All right, that was my only question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Councilmember Dovey?
I just had one question, and you sort of answered it. You said Celebration Park is 600,000 to $1 million.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big swing. Is it really probably $1 million and not 600,000?
To make, I want that, and I know Jason does too. We want to put some thought and some pizzazz into that park, because it gets used so much. I definitely see bulldogging grants on that, and going after grants, gonna have to happen. And I envision something if we had like an airplane theme out there, actually having LED lights. I don't know if you folks have seen the space, the one they have down in Kent. They have one that honors like the moon landing and that like that. They've got LED. They've even got a projector out there. There's an old building. We have the lower chase there, that lower restroom with a wall. They've whitewashed a building wall, and they have a projector that shows movies out in the park, right there in their playground. And it's all, if you haven't been to it, it's a really cool park. And I'm okay with stealing some ideas from Kent. I know some folks down there, they owe me, so, but yeah. Yeah, we want to up the dollar amount on that because of where it is, and it's gonna get a lot of use, and it has.
What's the lead time? I mean,
The lead time when we order this,
yeah, I mean, this first I've heard about, I know we replaced parks. This is the
Yes.
first time I heard Celebration Park, and I doubt it's 600,000. I mean, that's our one of our premier parks.
Right.
I don't know what Town Square was, but when do you start that process? I mean, you heard Councilmember Honda saying council should be involved in picking things. That's a long process.
Yes.
But, I mean, are we like months away for starting for 2026 or 2027, or where are we at?
if we can get the funds together, yes, because we plan on having Kana built by the end of the summer, but before school starts is what I'm looking at, because then you just want to be done before school starts. And I would say after we're done with this one, I'll probably start looking at trying to gain funding for the next one, and that's Celebration. That's going to take some doing.
Do you have another?
Kana Park, my kids, when they were at Silver Lake, used to play soccer there. And when I was there a couple months ago, it didn't look like that soccer field was really a field anymore.
It's more of an open, yeah, it's just that open field there. Yeah.
Is that going to stay that way?
Yes. We don't have the staff. I've never seen it as a soccer field.
Well, my kids are old.
I don't remember it as a,
Yeah,
with soccer,
they had, yeah, my kids did soccer for 1 year. That's where they played. Yeah.
I didn't know that. We'll paint
my
lines
kids
anywhere,
played
though,
soccer
I will
there
say
too,
that.
but I thought they just did it without,
Oh, no.
you know, without the,
Just pop a couple goals up and go nuts.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
uh-huh.
nice because we could just cross the street and we were there from school. So that field's just going to remain the same way?
It's
Nothing's
just an
done to it?
open nature field, yeah, for just open grass field.
So for Celebration Park to do an aviation theme, which is really cool, you know, Kent has that space theme
Yes,
down there?
yes.
That new park? Could we go out and ask for grants or donations, maybe from Boeing or
Absolutely,
from any aerospace company that's around?
absolutely, definitely. That's an option.
Because, you know, if they can put their name on something, that they might want to do that.
yeah. Maybe Alaska Airlines, they've had a little more profit
Yeah.
margin than what Boeing has lately.
I'm going to talk to Shelley now, if Alaskan Airlines, we can get her on board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Blue
Council
Origin,
President.
Blue
yeah.
Origin,
Blue Origin, yeah.
Amazon.
So. All right. Thank you, George. If there's no other questions, do we have a motion?
Okay, I guess I'll do it. I move to forward the proposed purchase to the May 20th, 2025 consent agenda for approval.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. All right.
Thank you all for your support, appreciate
All
it.
right. Thank you for everybody's support for my neighborhood park. So anyway. All right, and with that, the PAC operations update. Stacia.
Good evening. Give me one moment. Perfect. Okay. I always struggle with the screen share. Good evening, Chair Walsh, President Kochmar, and council members. Thank you for having me tonight. I'm Stacia Winters, and I'm the General Manager of the Federal Way Performing Arts and Event Center, and I'm here for the PAC Monthly Operations Update. So starting out tonight, I wanted to go over, some of our general numbers. This is for January through March of 2025 this year, because of some canceled meetings and me being on vacation and things. We're going to be updating from the beginning of the year tonight. So for attendance, for the entire month, we've had just over 10,000 attendees. About 1,500 of those were in January, 5,500 of those were in February, and then about 3,000 in March. For paid tickets, for paid theater tickets, we had 4,763 theater tickets sold for this period. Again, broken down, January we had 696, February we had 1,835, and for March we had 2,232 tickets. What people are saying. I always like to highlight some of the recent reviews we've gotten. One that we got online was beautiful building. Every event I have attended here there has been amazing, which is just the sentiment that I hope that everybody leaves our venue with. Another one was an email that we got after an event. It says, "This is a long overdue thank you for everything you did to make Black Home Initiative's recent summit event a resounding success. I really should have said for everything you did and how you did it, because the way you interacted with us was equally important. We worked with many, many event venues over decades, and I can assure you that you stand out in a big way. Your responsiveness, proactive information, clarity, flexibility, and commitment to really listening deeply to our questions all work together to ensure that you presented us with all the options, expert advice that led us to choose exactly the right solutions. From space setup to AV support to catering, every piece was flawlessly executed in just what we wanted and needed. We heard raves about the venue. You are outstanding professionals that set the standard others would do well to use as a benchmark. It was a genuine pleasure to work with you, and you were essential to the success of our event. We will recommend the PAC without hesitation." This one I'm particularly proud of. This is actually from an event that my team did while I was out on vacation. So I love seeing that they were so incredibly successful, even when I'm not right there to help them, because we've got a great team over there. For usage days overall for the entire quarter, we had 70 usage days. 20 of these were in January. Some of our event highlights for January are MLK commissions, MLK Day, or Diversity Commissions, MLK Day celebration. This was a fantastic event that the Diversity Commission puts on every year at the PAC. This year it was focused on diversity, community, and inclusion with performances from local groups and a powerful keynote speech, for those of you who were there, by Evan Cook. That was a great speech by him. It also had a food drive to support the multi-service center. This year, it was attended by 421 people, which is a huge increase from the 2024 attendance, which was just over 100 people. So it was really exciting to see that that grew so much. Another event that we did was we partnered with For Culture, and they came into the PAC in January to do a presentation on all the different grants that they have going on. We invited different arts cultures. We invited the Bonsai Museum, we kind of put it out to everybody, but we had a bunch of people come and attend and just ask questions and get to meet a lot of people at For Culture face to face so that they could get questions answered about upcoming grants that may benefit things in our community here in South King County. In February, we had 26 usage days. They were very busy in February, only a couple free days. A couple event highlights from February was, of course, State of the City, the I Heart Federal Way State of the City. This also had an increased attendance, which is great to see. We had about 400 people in 2024 and 475 people attended in 2025. So that's awesome to see, of course. We also had the Federal Way Public School District Music Festival. This was put on with support from Arts Foundation Federal Way and, of course, with great collaboration with Federal Way Public Schools. They had a few hundred students from middle schools and high school, band, orchestra, and choirs that participated. They started rehearsals back in November, and they all played together from different schools, which was really cool. And there was 836 parents, friends, and family that attended performances throughout the day. There were 2 different performances. So a full day, I want to say the first performance was at like 3 and the second one was at 7. So a full day of all sorts of music from the local students at our school. Some of the feedback we got from that I wanted to share. Dr. Danny Pfeiffer said it was a showcase of talent and brilliance. In addition to gifted and dedicated student musicians, we're lucky to have committed staff, guest conductors, and leadership who help support, coordinate, and make certain our students' talents are spotlighted. This wouldn't happen without incredible partners like the PAC and Arts Foundation Federal Way. We couldn't do it without your sponsorship and generosity. And a member of the Arts Foundation board mentioned a couple things that I thought were lovely. He said, I just returned from the music festival that our school district produced and orchestrated. The theater was packed up to the balcony. Parents, friends, teachers, and musicians filled the venue. The music was top notch. So it was a really wonderful day. It was exciting to see all those students on stage, many of them potentially for the first time on a professional stage like that. And then we also had Cirque Calabante. This was one of our PAC Presents shows this year. It was a really cool Cirque-themed show that brought in a lot of African culture. They had really cool drums and musicians, but then there was also a lot of, headstands and really crazy contortionist things. So it was a really unique show that pulled everything together. We had great attendance. That show had over 500 people attend, and it was a lot of fun and very unique. In March, we had 2024 usage days, and a couple of our event highlights from this one. Marty Eisenberg came with his Wes Anderson playlist show. We did this show actually in the meeting rooms. We set it up more of a jazz club feel. We had some like low top tables, kind of like a cocktail table you would go to at a jazz club. And before his performance that night, we actually invited a couple of the jazz bands from the local schools out to do an Arts for Youth workshop. So they got to not only see the band perform directly, but they actually all brought their instruments and got to play with the band and receive instruction and tips on how to improvise and how to improve their playing, which was a really cool thing to do and get to bring the kids out to do. We also did at the end of the month the Unfiltered Waters live podcast. This was Olympian swimmers Katie Hoff and Elizabeth Beisel. It's Katie Hoff's podcast that she hosts. They spent 2 weeks in Federal Way during the NCAA Division I women's and men's swimming finals. So they were here all 2 weeks, and they were at the PAC almost every day doing daily podcasts, updating on how the tournament was going, who was winning, what they expected to see in the next day. But we also did a live podcast, which was super fun. It was their first one. I believe it was the first one at the PAC. I don't think they've ever had one before. So that was really fun and a kind of a new challenge to do. We were able to partner with Fusion, and they provided all of our set pieces to kind of make it a fun little set and bring it like it was really a podcast, but you're sitting in there with them. We had also special guests with Olympian Ryan Lochte and the UVA head coach Todd DeSorbo were there. All the funds raised from that live podcast were actually donated to support swim programs and teams that were directly affected by the wildfires in California as well. So that was something that was really important to Katie. Yeah, it was okay. And then to get into the fun stuff. So revenues for the quarter, it's kind of all laid out there, but you can see ticket revenue for the quarter was $173,000. This is versus 2024. We are a little bit down from $221,000. Rental revenue, we are up. 2025, we have almost $119,000 versus 2024, $114,000. Facility fees, these of course also track directly with ticket sales, so these are down a bit as well. From last year, $23,000 versus $36,000 in 2024. And food and beverage revenue, we are at $118,500 versus 2024, $105,000. So total revenues are down there. This kind of goes along with some of the conversations we had the last time I was here, and I want to dive a little more into what that looks like, especially with events and against budget. I budget towards certain things, or even last year, what falls. We did more conferences at the beginning of this year and smaller meetings versus maybe some of our bigger shows. So of course we're going to see that with ticket revenue if we do less concerts. So I wanted to dive into something that, let me see if I can move this bar, that I don't think that I really dove into with you guys before and might be a benefit for you to understand based on our last conversation, is event operating income. This is something that I look at regularly, and this is how the events themselves do. So this is event revenue versus event expenses specific. It doesn't have any of our overhead into it. So this is a breakdown of what we did each month. So our event operating income for January was $16,835. For February, we had a really great month, $53,149. In March, we had $13,849. So year-to-date event operating income, so this is just how much money we make, bottom line on our events we do, was $84,504. A comparison that I wanted to give compared to our budget, specifically, Councilmember McDaniel, some of the questions you asked our last was, how does it look according to budget? I kind of dove into that a little bit more. The FedRAC financials the financials you guys see at FedRAC, with the way that our financials come out, it's a little bit behind. In FedRAC, we close our books at the same time the city does. So if you were looking at the March, which when we were speaking of it was the March FedRAC numbers, it was comparing our January finals to a February budget at the city level because of how it rolls in. Our budget also falls differently in the city's budget than it does in my budget that I look at every day, because I have peak seasons and months that I know we're going to do more events and months that I know we're going to do less events. And on the city budget, it takes our revenues and our expenses and just divides it strictly by 12. So that's why you're going to see it a little bit different maybe from what I present versus what comes out there. So hopefully that explains that, but I'm happy to dive in more there. Compared to our budget here, you can see that we budgeted for our event operating income to be at $112,731 right now. So we are slightly behind there. This again kind of falls in what has come in. Looking back at our budget, I did budget for a few larger concerts and we ended up booking minor concerts. So I have a number of different breakdowns for both concerts, conferences, banquets, and how many I think that we're going to book at these different levels. And sometimes they come in at different months. So that kind of is where those variances can be based on what we had in April and what we are going to have in May and June. I'm expecting that to come right back up because we've got some really good stuff coming up in the next couple months. And then, let me see if I can move this bar again. I wanted to compare to 2024 as well. 2024, at this point in the year, our event operating income was $76,845,000. So we are ahead of last year, which I think goes to show that we did some smaller events this year. They had a couple large key events last year, and yet we're still up in revenues. And that's because we're really focusing on increasing our margins and having higher quality of service and better service, even for these smaller events, so that we're continuing to push revenue. And then net operating loss income, I also wanted to give you here. So current year to date, our net operating income is a loss of $297,146 versus our budget for year to date, have a good night, is $310,192. So we are currently ahead of our budget overall by $13,046. Every time we move that bar. And then our goals. I wanted to give an update on our goals, of course. As of March 2025, we are to 25% of our attendance goals. As a reminder, our attendance goal is to increase venue attendance by 5% every year. So we are 25% of that goal. I am forecasting us to meet that goal this year. Community events, as of March, we were at 0% of that goal. We had our first community event in April, and we have 4 more scheduled for the year. Our goal for community events is 5 events held yearly, and we do have 4 more coming up, so we will meet that goal this year as well. Usage days, we are at 32% of our goal. Based on what we have booked this year, we are going to exceed that goal. We already have on the calendar 231 usage days booked, and our goal is 222. So we will beat that goal, and we're still booking already. And then our other goals, we have revenue generation, so food and beverage, theater rental, event space rental, and ticket revenue. These all, we are supposed to increase year over year by 2.5%. So we're 24% of the way of our goal for food and beverage. Theater rental, we're 26% of the way. Event space rental, we're 31% of the way. And ticket revenue, we're about 20% of the way. All of these, food and beverage, we're definitely, I expect to hit. Event space rental, we're definitely expecting to hit. Theater rental revenue, and ticket revenue, we're tracking to be right on par with as of right now. Event types, these, we are supposed to hold 4 weddings annually, 50 banquets, meetings, and conferences annually, 10 nonprofit events annually, and 6 Arts for Youth programs. As of March, we are 0% of the way with our weddings. However, we did do one in April, and we have another one in July. So still working on that one. Banquets and meetings, we're already at 34% of our goal, and we have 28 more contracted, so we're already almost at our goal as far as events that we have contracted. Nonprofit events, we are 30% of the way to our goal. We have 19 more contracted for this year, so we will meet that goal as well. And Arts for Youth, we had held 2 at this point, so we were at 33% of our goal, and we have 4 more contracted for this year. So we'll be meeting that goal as well this year. And then upcoming events that I wanted to highlight. Hopefully you guys can make it to some of these. On Thursday, actually here in 2 days, we do have the 2025 Senior Health and Resource Fair that the Senior Advisory Commission puts on. That's from 10 to 1, so that'll be really awesome. That's coming up. We also have this weekend, the Federal Way Chorale has their performance, their year-end performance, Sure on This Shining Night. So that's going to be a fantastic performance. It's at 4 p.m. if you would like to attend. And then also on Sunday, we have Sean Rahman. He is an Indian singer who's going to be there on Sunday. So that's going to be a very fun event. We also, this week, I believe I spoke about it last month as well, but we do have a carnival. I'm sure you've seen if you've been past the Pack at all. In the old Target parking lot right next to us is the Fantastic Carnival up there. They opened last weekend and they're open through the 18th. So that's really fun. Got a lot going on up there right now. And then Arts Explosion is also coming up at the end of the month. It's going to be the last weekend of the month. And we're really excited to be bringing that program back as well. And any questions at this time?
Let's start with Councilmember Honda.
Oh, okay. When you talk about this year, are you talking about the end of December?
So talking about up to March of this year.
Well, when
Sorry.
you said you're going to meet your goals,
Oh, yes, yeah, correct, yeah.
so if you're at 33% for the youth program, and you have one more performance?
We have 4 more this year. We don't have any more like this season
Okay, then
to May, but next season, but before December, we have 4 more.
Okay.
Yes.
And that'll be from September to December?
Correct, yep.
Okay. As for weddings,
Mm-hmm.
are you I know we've talked about that a lot, and you try to advertise in the wedding, the big wedding show up in Seattle?
Yeah, we were at the wedding show in Seattle, and I know our July show came from that wedding show, and they're working on one, if not two more from that one as well. And then we also had one just in April that just came from somebody just reaching out. So yes, we are working on those.
So the carnival, I was up there yesterday looking at it and with a friend of mine, and she's in her early 20s. And she was concerned about safety. Did someone go through and inspect all the rides and make sure that they were safe?
So yeah, so they have all of that on there, and they have all their licenses and everything and inspections that they do. Yes.
Okay. I was pretty sure, but
Yes, absolutely.
for someone being her age, it was interesting that she brought it up.
Yes. No. Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. Thank you.
Councilmember McDaniel.
Got a couple. Thanks for some of the input. I get the FedRAC numbers a little bit better now.
Okay.
My first question is going to be on that. If we're looking at those kind of numbers, I don't want to wait till December to kind of get an idea. What is a realistic, since I know you guys have seasonal trends and cyclical cycles, what's a realistic time to look at in the year to do a spot check that's going to be a little bit more accurate than January compared to last January or February?
Yeah, absolutely. So I will say first quarter of the year is our slowest quarter. February, we had a great February, better than looking back at previous financials, better than they have been. But the first quarter is our slowest. I think, at our 6-month mark, after we go through the next 3 months, that's going to be, if we're tracking at that point, then we're tracking really good for the year, because that's when we see it kind of flush out from our slow season to our busy season. And then the rest of the year, we have a slow month and then a busy month and then a slowish month. So really, it's like July is kind of when we start to see that flash out.
So the first 6 months are kind of like, you just got to wait it out, and then you'll know a
Yeah.
better understanding about that.
And there's always going to be potentially a little bit of variance looking at month to month specifically, because like I said, I might budget and think that we're going to have a big conference in February and it doesn't come through, but then we have 3 when I only budgeted 1 in May. So that's where month to month it's kind of up and down. It's not going to be precise because I'm 2 years out when I do our biennial budget. I'm guessing what we're going to book 2 years from now, and it doesn't always pan out exactly, but it should all go over the year.
And then I might have asked beforehand, but what does an average wedding cost to have at the, we've only done a few, so it's kind of hard, but if you were to average what the cost is to a couple?
So it kind of depends on the day and the attendance, of course. If it's a Saturday, just because I only have 3 Saturdays left in all of 2025, the base rent is $7,000 for a Saturday, which is what most people want. If it's a weekday, it's $5,000 for the whole venue, which most weddings do want. And then most of our meals land $40 per head, depending on where they want to go. We have some that are a little more expensive and some that are a little less, but about $40 a head. So it depends on their wedding party size.
And what's the average size for and I'm going to use the example, because I'm guessing that's the same kind of numbers for the private birthday and the private celebration of life that we have.
Yeah.
What's the average number of attendants that come to the weddings or those kind of events?
So weddings tend to be a little bit larger. We typically see closer to 250 to 300. Birthdays, we see honestly everything. We just did one this last weekend for 50 people. And then occasionally we'll get a bigger one we have one in 3 weeks. That's 200 people too. So birthdays and those more private events kind of skew all over the place. And that with birthdays or other private events, if they're on the smaller side, we can also just book one of our meeting rooms, which helps them save on the rental revenue, and then we can also host other events at the same time to maximize our revenue potential.
Got you. And then the carnival, is that something that is actually the PAC's associated with, or is that not?
Yeah, so we're not renting it specifically because it's not it's not part of our contract management. However, I did reach out to them directly, and I made the connection and then brought Autumn in to help kind of take it to the finish line and get the contract out so that they could be up there.
All right, then, since I'm going to throw that one to you then, what is the city looking like for profitability on that? How do we make money off of that? Are we actually renting out the space, the land, or how does that work?
We're renting out the land on a lease agreement similar to what we did with Waste Management, and there is a minimum compensation in there or a percentage of their overall sales. And so on the minimum, the city will make about $10,000 for the rent of that space for the time frame. If their sales are higher than that, then we'll make the sales amount.
Okay, so it's not I know the mall at one time it was, you had a cost plus percentage of sales. Ours is one or the other then?
It's one or the other, whichever is greater.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Awesome. Thanks for the information.
You're welcome.
The next one is, if you don't mind bouncing back to the revenues.
Yes.
You used the word event operating income, but when I look at the revenues, I'm trying to understand, if you can go back, yeah, that one. When you say event operating income, where does that number come from when I look at this chart that has a different naming convention?
Yes, so this is just our revenues. Event operating income is event revenue minus event expenses. So that's how much we make bottom line on an event. So if we have a rental that we get, $5,000 in rent and $10,000 in food, but then we have costs associated with the food and putting it out and janitorial, all of that stuff. So event operating income is what we make at the bottom line of that event.
So this right here is gross revenue
This is
streams.
gross, correct, yeah.
Okay.
So that's what I was saying. I mean, overall, you look, and it looks like we're $40,000 down from last year's revenue. However, we're actually up in event operating income. We're making more money on the events, even if the overall revenue is down.
So in
Does
this,
that make
now
sense?
is this gross income or is this net income?
This would be net income on the
Okay.
event. Yes, correct.
Got you. And then what we're saying is that to budget, even though it's broken out by the 12 months, we're underneath the budget, but when it comes to actually, underneath of the screen there, the month
Yes.
that you had, March was a good month, is that what you're saying on that one? or-
February was a really good
February.
month for us, yes.
So February-
You can see February, we made $50,000 on events at bottom line.
Okay, and then what is this versus March 2024, the variance? What is
Just-
that bottom right?
Just for a comparison, so you can see how we're doing compared to how we were doing last year. Last year, that is still event operating income. So our event operating income last year was 76.
So as of March of 2024, what we have 84,000 this year, it was 76, and that, okay.
Correct, yep.
That
And
makes,
that's kind of, and I maybe didn't say it in the best way, but that's what, I wanted to show this to show that we are improving our margins. We're making more bottom line net income on events. Even though we're doing some smaller events and we're a little down on revenue, I'm
Yeah.
focusing on, that's part of focusing on it's being accessible, but also how can we control our expenses to make sure we're still making the money we need to make while being accessible, bringing in more groups, not turning away every small group.
no, I got you. If you can go to the next one, I don't know if the
Yeah.
next one has the attendance.
Attendance?
Yeah, it's the one you had for, I think it was the other way,
Oh,
towards the end.
this is our year-to-date?
Not that one, next one. I just have to get used to
Oh, here,
seeing.
yes,
yeah, right.
sorry.
So when you say attendance at 25, does the attendance include paying and non-paying?
Correct.
And does it include the city events where we had like
It does.
a large increase to the two city events?
Yes.
Man, that really sprays in my mind the attendance. If we have a large increase on, I get what you're saying now, but when I look at that number, I have to take into consideration, if we had more people come to that Adversity Martin Luther King event, that's gonna add to it, and also if we had a large amount of people come to the State of the City address, that's gonna affect that too. But if those come up, but then we lose events and something else, it's still gonna
Yeah.
bury
yeah,
the number in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's, I mean, I think obviously it's anybody who comes into the building for any type of event. So it would be any city events, it's all of our symphony events, all of our ticketed events, anything, all of our conferences. It's all, yes, it all kind of, I don't think loses, like,
Balances out in your mind?
yeah, it would balance it out unless we turned away some sort of crazy sold out concert for a city event, and then I guess that would be a discussion. But that would be a discussion if that were ever to come up, so.
Gotcha. And then if we had someone who was to rent out long-term on set dates that aren't very busy, do we provide incentives for that, or is it pretty much?
It's not really ever, other than like the chamber, I've had discussions with a couple groups and it hasn't really panned out. That is something that I would like to do a little bit more of. Something that I'm exploring, which you had asked, how can we, some of our dark days, how can we turn some revenue? So I've been exploring renting specifically out the theater for like teching shows that are going out, which is when a show, before they go to tour, they go to a venue to make sure that all their lights and all their sound and everything works the way they want to. So I'm working with a ballet as well. They need a little bit more consistent space. So I've been going back and forth with them on what that would look like. We've not done that previously, so I don't have a model for it right now. I'm kind of exploring what that could look like if we did something like that.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate what you've done. Thank you very much.
Of course, thank you.
All right, Lydia.
Does the city pay when we have functions there?
It depends on the function. For example, State of the City, at the MLK Day Celebration, Arts Explosion, all of those have waived rent per the mayor. But they do pay for labor and any food and beverage and anything else that they request, yes.
How about the event tomorrow,
The event
Fair.
tomorrow, the event on Thursday, I have not gotten anything about their about their rent being waived, so they do have a rental fee in there as well. I put rental fee into all events unless I'm dictated otherwise to waive it, is
Although
my
this-
instruction.
okay, so this is a city function though, right?
It's a city function. We've been working, trying to get that taken care of so that we can be equal to the other city events that are there.
Okay, and the reason I'm asking is for the financial education at the community center, we do pay,
Yeah,
city
we do.
pays, so I just want to know
Yeah,
how we
like-
can get that waived.
So I
if
do put, like I
necessary.
said, I put rent on everything unless I'm instructed otherwise
Okay.
to waive it for any reason.
Yeah, so I think this question might be for John then. How do we get that waived for the financial literacy or anything we do at the community center?
Can you repeat the question, please?
The financial literacy that we've been having at the Dave Ramsey program that we've been having at the community center,
Uh-huh,
I know we pay for that.
right.
So how do we get that waived, or what do we do if that's a request we want to make?
If the mayor chose to waive it, I suppose, but we're turning away revenue to offer those classes, so we're kind of getting hit twice if we do that.
We're doing that at the PAC, though.
Understood.
Okay.
You asked about the community center, I was
Yeah.
answering about the community center.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Jack.
A follow-up question on that. It would seem to me that even though the city is waiving the fees, you should be collecting it as, at least on paper, as revenue. I mean, we're not getting money in, but we're, you know,
like an MOU.
gaming the system. And if you're not getting credit for it being open and off-booking it somehow, that this is what
Yeah.
we should have got, you're shortchanging how well you're doing. I don't know how we do that or if we are, but the discussion would be, we had 4 city events, the mayor's talk for the state of the city and whatever else, and that was $10,000 or would have been. And if you're not booking it as revenue to make it 94,000, I'm just making the numbers up, then you're not really truly showing what you're doing.
I agree.
So it would seem to me that there should be a notation on that. It's 84,000, but because the city said we're not charging for this, this, and this, because we have an MOU for doing that, you should have credit that it would have been another 10,000, or whatever the number is. And I know, Lydia, at the community center, I believe the next Ramsey group is gonna be here in City Hall, so there won't be a fee, but so, John, you can make more money and you can show us that you're more profitable.
Thank you for that opportunity.
Anyway, so, just a thought.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Maybe with that, showing that there's, you know, say the 84,000 is what that was.
Yeah.
And then in, what would be the right terminology? You know, another 10,000 or whatever it would be that the city was doing as a.
In kind or something.
As an in-kind or promo or something
Yeah,
like that.
I can
Promote,
definitely
you know,
discuss that,
promotion.
how we would do that on our financials and then how it would need to go out for city financials and things as well. That's definitely something we can explore, I think. I mean, obviously, it helps us to reach the goals that have been set as well, so I appreciate that. Thank
All right.
you.
Okay, Susan.
Thank you. So on the list that you provided for us ahead of time on the monthly report of what events happened,
Yes.
you have half house and full house
Yeah.
listed. So when it's half house, is that just the first floor?
Correct, yes.
And there's a different cost for that?
Correct, yep.
And then, so then you have the percentage of tickets. So let's take the Auburn Symphony. They must have had the whole house at 521 tickets. And then this same month was the Federal Way Symphony with 316 tickets, which was the whole house.
Correct.
Is there, I've noticed through the last couple of years when the Auburn Symphony has been coming up to use a pack, that they generally sell more tickets than our symphony does. Do you know why? Is there a difference in the cost of the ticket?
Actually, Auburn symphonies are a little bit more expensive. It kind of depends on the show, but from what I've seen, they're typically a little more expensive. Auburn Symphony has an excellent marketing team and strategy, and they have a really loyal base. And that's just from what I've seen. I have only done 3 shows with them, so it's hard to and I haven't I'm not as familiar with them as I am with Federal Way Symphony. However, I know that they have a very loyal base that follows them to multiple venues, which is pretty rare in the world of symphonies and of art like this, for them to follow to multiple venues. And that's something that they're doing extremely well with their organization, how they keep that.
Do you track ticket sales so you know that their ticket sales are from Auburn and not from Federal Way?
So we do track ticket sales. I don't know off the top of my head. I would have to pull that information to see. I know we do get some Federal Way people for sure at our shows. But a lot of their tickets come from their season ticket holders. I would say at least half, if not more, come from their season ticket holders. So those are people who are going to every show, no matter what venue they're at.
It's always been interesting to me. For the events that had, like Respect sold 205 tickets, which doesn't seem very much for the theater. Would you have that artist come back? Or because they sold so few tickets, would you try to get something else instead?
Honestly, it kind of depends on a number of different approaches. We've had a few that come and try to do the full house and it doesn't work out. And then I either recommend doing a half house or we choose not to come and have them come back. It also, if it's a rental, we have some groups that bring shows and they don't bring a lot of people, but it's a rental and they're willing to pay the rental price. So whether their show, we kind of make the same money whether they have a show with 200 or 500 people. So it depends.
So if it's a half house rental or a full house rental, do you have then less costs depending on half or full house?
Yeah, so depends on if we do provide a different rate for like local groups, but for like a national or a regular touring show, it's $5,000 for a full house rental, and then it's $3,500 for half house, and it's less than that for our nonprofits.
But so you'd still need all the electricity, the sound.
Yeah, so
why would you charge less?
So that's our base rent. Our base rent just includes our ushers, our box office staff, and janitorial, and we charge less because we need less labor if there's less people. So if it's a half house, we have less to clean, and we need 3 less ushers. So we're able to charge less for that reason. However, all of the other expenses that would be the same, whether the show is half or full house, they pay in full, no matter what the show is. So those expenses would be the same.
And then I noticed I got a couple emails from ticketing that one of the Christmas shows is already selling tickets.
Yes.
So will they all be eventually selling tickets as soon, or?
Yes, we have 3 more shows in the fall that are going on sale in the next 3-ish weeks, and I'm working on a Nutcracker as well right now that should be going on sale soon
I
as
was
well.
just going to ask you about the Nutcracker because I know they
yes.
sold out.
Yep, and then Federal Way, and we're working on 2 shows for Nutcracker this year.
Oh, good.
And then Federal Way Symphony is they announced their season, or are announcing their season very soon. And we'll be going on sale with their season tickets as well. So all of these things are in the next, really from like now to July, we will have a lot of shows going on sale for the rest of the year.
So for the Nutcracker, will it be the same company or will it be a different company?
It is the same company this year, yep.
And they'll do the same, because they kind of, their Nutcracker wasn't as long. They cut some things out of it.
Okay, really? I'll have to check with them. I don't know off the top of my head.
My daughter danced in it for
Really?
many, many
Okay.
years, so I know every dance.
Yeah, I'll have to check. I can certainly check with them, yeah.
I was just wondering, and other people have asked me too. They
Yeah.
noticed.
It's more though.
Huh?
The tickets might be higher if they.
Oh, the tickets were fairly expensive for that. I
I'm
think
saying
we
we-
paid like $95 for our tickets.
I'm saying if they do the full thing, it might even be more expensive.
110.
Oh, anyway, thank you so much.
Yes, of course, thank you.
Right, Paul?
Yeah, mine's, you're off the hook on this one. It's more of a comment towards what you guys had mentioned earlier. I had an email actually, and last year the city had $24,000 with comped events at the PAC. I'm a big proponent of having a policy put in place that we make a decision on that one. I don't like the fact that we take books time off the slots, we don't pay for it. But then it also, if we did that, we could probably cut back a little bit here to make it realistic over here. And the same thing with the parks. That community center, we pay a good chunk of money to that one, so if we do take away from that one, then we're gonna see a revenue dip on that one. So it's kind of a balancing act, but I would like to see the council maybe talk about a policy and put it in place of making it move forward with the consistency, not just a willy-nilly kind of mindset. But I thank you guys for bringing it up.
All right. Lydia?
Yeah, so for community events, you have 0%.
Yes.
Wouldn't like MLK Day count as a community?
So the way that it's written out in our contract are community events that we create and fund through sponsors. So that is a community event, but not per this goal specifically. Our Earth Day event that we had in April, that is one of those events, and we have a few more coming up. So yeah, it's kind of the specific definition of community events in this goal that was set in our contract. MLK Day would not count towards it.
Okay, thanks.
Yes.
And just to pop in, one of the reasons for that, Lydia, is because they are incentivized on these goals. So community-based events the city is sponsoring and hosting are not part of their incentive. They need to create additional accessible community events.
Thank you.
Yes.
Makes sense.
Quick question, Stacia. What type of events have the best margin?
Ooh. Food and beverage events have our best margin. And it kind of depends on a number of factors, but overall food and beverage events. So weddings are a little harder because they're a little more work. So we end up having slightly, not low by any means, like any substantial, but slightly lower. And same with some of like the birthday parties and quinceañeras because they're a little more, they take a little bit more work on our back end, but like conferences and professional meetings with galas, like those kind of things are our highest margin events.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. So the chamber's there every month. How much for the 2 hours or whatever it is, how much are we charging them?
Yes, so I don't have that number right on my hand, but I could pull that for you. We do have a agreement with the chamber, so a trade agreement, so we pay them a certain amount for membership, and then it's similar. And then, of course, all their food and beverage and all of that they pay for as well. But I don't know that number off the top of my head. I'd have to look it up in our contracts.
All right. Thank you very much. Great report. Thanks
Thank
for,
you.
I think that you're doing a terrific job over there.
Thank you so
And
much.
I've
I
had a
appreciate
lot
that.
of comments from the community on the quality of the shows and some of the different things. So,
Thank you so much.
All
I
right.
really appreciate that.
all right, thank you.
Have a wonderful night.
All right, have a good evening. And if there is anything else? Oh, Susan.
Thank you. Don't be so excited. Was wondering if we could get an update on the tree phone that's, council,
The what?
the tree
On
phone?
the wind phone?
Wind phone, thank you. I knew I had it wrong. I
Yeah, you
wasn't
were
quite-
close. It's going to be near a tree,
Yeah,
likely.
one feet in a tree.
The commission, a couple of commissioners, one in particular, had promised that he would buy the phone, build the box, and then did not come through on those commitments. So we are sourcing a rotary phone. Jason's got about 10 bids in on eBay for an old rotary phone. And then we will build it and install it when it's ready.
So you don't have a date for that?
No. Memorial Day? Apparently, I was just updated by
Oh.
my friend Mary.
Thank you, Mary.
On or near Memorial Day,
Oh, okay.
2026. Just kidding.
So the answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind?
And then I had another question for the committee. So this is, considered the Public Safety Committee too. And a lot of the work we do, excuse me, deals with the police department and the courts. I was wondering if, similar to the information we get from the PAC, if maybe we could get information on a monthly basis as to police staffing, because we get so many different answers on police staffing, just, how many officers we have hired, under contract, in school, whatever, just so that we have a more accurate idea of how many officers we have, here in the city. It wouldn't require necessarily an officer being here, it could just be information in our packet.
All right, I will follow up on that.
Thank you, appreciate it.
And with that, we are adjourned.